All right, peace to the planet. You know what it is. A D to the bishop. I'm chilling. Um, I got up early today, my friends. But I get up every day because insomnia is what's for breakfast. I have William Mulligan, author of one of my favorite Stoic books, The Everyday Stoic, joining us here. And where are you at? Are you in Birmingham? Where are you at?
Nottingham.
Nottingham. There's too many hams in the United Kingdom. There's a lot of ham in the United Kingdom, and I can't keep up with all of them. But
Robin Hood.
exactly. Robin Hood, there it is, right? And he's got a lot of merry men that read Stoicism too. So we are here to talk about Stoicism, how he got into it, how he wrote the book, and also some of the ideas around like problems with Stoicism. What I mean with problems is Stoic practices that are hard, that are not easy to do, right? That are maybe trying, and then also just philosophically, you know, are you able to get with everything that's coming at you from the Stoics? So welcome to Bishop Chronicles, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, and thank you for having me. Also, thank you for getting up so early.
I
The
don't
time.
mind. I swear, I'm really up early anyway, so it's totally fine. I'm really glad to have you on. Now, you are author of the Everyday Stoic: Simple Rules for a Good Life. And was it how long did it come out now? How long is it? 2 years? 1 year? How long is it been out?
24.
Yeah.
About 24.
I mean, this is such a great book. If you are looking to understand fundamental ideas around Stoicism and get it in a modern context, one of the things that I think about is that we were just saying that Stoicism needs a rebrand because, one, it really works, but two, because of a way that a lot of people present it, it looks and feels archaic. It looks and feels kind of old and dated when it's not. It's one of the best ways to be figuring out how to live life right now, with all the craziness that goes on. So, could you tell me how did you start getting into Stoicism and then also talk about all of the cool interviews you've done with the Shaolin monk and how you kind of see Taoism and Stoicism intermingled? Like, I'm curious.
Yeah, so I have to go back to when I was 17. I was a laborer, earning less than minimum wage in like a job I hated. I would say I just hated life. I was very pessimistic on a downward spiral, very defeatist. I felt like this is my life.
Mm.
I had to catch a bus for like 2 hours in the morning, get up early, and I never read, didn't have a good education or anything. And my mum just said, like, why don't you just read? Just read on
Mm.
the bus. Like you have all that time. And that's like, I mean, iPhones and stuff were out, but I didn't have one. I had the old Nokia. Um, Sometimes I play snakes, but that's like, I read her books, and her books are on like addiction. She ran a rehab center, so it's like on
Mm.
addiction, on psychology, that kind of thing. Then I got onto the meditations, Marcus Aurelius, and I don't know, something about it clicked. Like, because I always felt like all this sort of philosophy was just way out of my realm. Like,
Yeah, most people do.
yeah, and it's like you're saying it's archaic and like the historic language. It's also taught by academics, and that was always so. Like that's one thing I'm trying to do is make it less academic because when I read Marcus Aurelius, the first thing I ever remember sticking in my brain was to be like the rock that the waves crash over. It stands
Mhm.
unmoved, and my understanding of it wasn't so right. But in my head, when I felt like I was living in a storm, I wanted to be that rock.
Wow.
So I started reading the meditations every day on the bus. I didn't even know it was Stoicism, but then I'm like, I want more of this. So get onto Epictetus, and I left out Seneca for a long time, but then I got onto Seneca, and it just, you know what it did? It changed the way I see the world. There's this philosophical idea of the wooden block, like you're handed this wooden block, and I believed that's me. I'm the wooden block. That's my life. I'm anxious. I'm depressed. I'm miserable. I'm defeatist. I can never do anything. But philosophy showed me, not just Stoicism, philosophy showed me that I have the tools to shape that block. So I can live the kind of life I want to live. I can be the kind of person I want to be. It
Yeah.
just takes work. So yeah, I mean that answers that. But then going on to I think you were saying about the Shaolin Temple. Um, I love the Shaolin Temple. It's like it was like a Christmas tradition. We would go visit Yi at the Shaolin Temple. We would drive from Nottingham all the way to Germany, and it was like a Christmas tradition. We'd
How
drive.
long was that drive? And how did it start? Like, how do you go from like, I like Stoicism and my brothers are kind of getting into it to I'm interviewing a legendary Shaolin monk in Germany, like, and those videos are going viral and like,
So the way it started is my brother Jordan. So there's three brothers. I mean, there's seven of us, but there's three of us run this company,
right.
and Jordan just did a Skype call with Yi, and as soon as it was finished, he was like, this guy is so well spoken, so articulate,
Yeah,
like
he's
so wise.
unusually just powerful as a speaker, man.
Yeah, incredible. And then we was just like, right, it would be nice to do something else with them in person because we generally don't like to do the Skype calls because you don't get that
Yeah.
connection for the documentaries, especially. So then we arranged it and we went drove up to the Shaolin Temple. It's a long drive. I don't know, but it's enjoyable. I love road trips, and we spent 3 days with him, I think. And the most amazing thing I'd say is what I love is you see this guy on a screen who seems so wise, so peaceful, so patient, all of that, and you kind of expect to open the Shaolin Temple doors and see behind the curtain. Like
Right.
that's what I expect. But actually seeing behind the curtain is seeing more depth, more kindness, more patience.
Hey.
Like the man behind the camera, he speaks less. He's more of an observer. He lets other people speak. He lets other people take the lead. He's happy doing his thing, helping out people, and just I mean I don't know where to start with stories, but there's so many stories that like show his character. But I just love everyone there is so nice. The food's amazing.
Yeah, tell me about the food. I'm always a food weirdo. So tell
So
me about,
it's plant-based, which is
yeah.
good because all of us brothers live a plant-based diet, and they. I don't want to get their rules wrong, but they have like set rules, times you eat,
Mm,
and things that happen during eating. But one is like you respect the food, so that they serve the food, you respect it by not talking, not going on your phone, not doing any of that. You're there with the food,
stay
and
present.
yeah, you're present and you appreciate it. And there's a list of things that you read to yourself that I can't remember, but you read them to yourself and remind yourself like this food's been provided to us, all that kind of things, and
Mm,
it makes you grateful. But it's kind of like that's their life. It's like they really practice the things they're teaching.
that's powerful, man. And how long were you there? That first time?
I think it was 3 days. So we actually we stayed at a place just outside the temple. Then every morning we'd go there, stay there all day, and then go back and repeat the process. And that's kind of been the standard thing we do for each trip. Just because the temple is actually very busy.
Yeah.
It's very, very busy. You don't really see that. That they're helping so many people and running so many classes. And you'll be in one room, it's peaceful, and you've got all the cameras set up. Then 20 minutes later, they've got swords, they've got like spears, and they're doing all these classes. And then
And what
you got
city is it in again? I forget.
pardon?
What city in Germany is it in?
Um, no, that's what I was saying. Kaiserslautern, Otterberg, I
Okay.
believe.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. No,
uh,
that's so beautiful, man. And listen, guys, if you are curious about this, absolutely look up Mulligan Brothers page on YouTube and you will see incredible philosophical conversations. Now, as you got into sitting with him and learning more about Buddhism and Taoism and things like that, like, did you find that they resonated with you stoically? Is that what kind of brought you to it, or made you appreciate it, or were you or one of your brothers more investigating Buddhism or Taoism and just trying to kind of see what was more authentic or resonating?
the initial drive. So from the Mullen Brothers standpoint, from my brother's standpoint, it's about creating content that will inspire people. Like our mission is to inspire change. So that is, it doesn't matter the philosophical background, it doesn't matter where they're from, who they are, anything. It's about if they have advice or a story that we know can inspire change. That's ultimately, that was the driving force. Personally, for me, my I wouldn't say driving force is more of like my interest, my inspiration is when I've had a few conversations with him for the Everyday Stoic, and it's funny off camera. I'm telling him I was like, we're going to talk about Stoicism. I want to hear your perspective, and he finds it funny. He's saying like, I don't know what this is. I don't know too much, at least. So sorry if I get things wrong. And he starts answering, and I'm like, I'm sure you know. Like, there's no way you don't know what this is. But the more he spoke, I realized that it's kind of universal teachings. Like the Buddhists were teaching what the Stoics teach, and a lot of religion are teaching the same things. It's just packaged.
Yeah. Like, I find that a lot of Islamic, what we call Sufi philosophy, it
Yeah.
almost strikingly mirrors Stoicism to a T. You know what I mean? To a T. Um, and I find that with Rumi. I find that with another scholar named Al-Ghazali. Um, there's another guy named Ibn Arabi, like his books. If you go on YouTube, you can look up like Ibn Arabi, like philosophical perspectives, and like absolutely mind-blowing stuff that you can get from the Sufis, from the Moors, from the Ottomans, from different Turkish writers and thinkers. And that's one of the things that attracted me to it, right? Was how open it is for anybody. Meaning that if you're a person of faith, if you're an atheist, if you're an agnostic, there are still Stoic perspectives that kind of like can fall into place for you. And that Stoicism doesn't feel like it contests with other things. You know what I mean? It's not arguing to prove that the way you're living sucks or whatever. It's about we're just trying to live good and these things make sense to us, right? And it reminds me of, do you know who Joseph Campbell is? Have I mentioned
I've
him
heard,
before to you? So Joseph Campbell is somebody that I think you would really appreciate. He passed away a long time ago. Like I think he passed away in like 89 or 90, maybe something like that. But in America, Joseph Campbell um, would talk about the perennial philosophies on public television. And he was an uncommon scholar, man. This guy didn't just read everything, he went everywhere. And so what he would talk about were the perennial philosophies, which were these ideas that kind of fed through different streams of thought and faith. So he would say this idea that we think is uniquely Christian also shows up in this Navajo religion, right? This Indian concept from the Rig Veda is actually also echoed in Islam over here, right? And it was really cool because it was kind of the way he presented his ideas was very disarming, right? It wasn't like a fight. It was like, see, you guys thought you guys had different ideas, but whatever. And so every year when public television would do their funding drive, they would just play his lectures for like 12 hours straight. And then, oh, if you want to donate, we can send you the videotapes of this very talk. Um, I find that I came across Joseph Campbell in my life probably when I was like 20 years old, right? 19, 20 years old. And for me, what it did was it kept me from locking on too tightly to any dogma. So even when I changed my faith from Christianity to Islam, I wasn't so locked into the dogma of Islam that I couldn't appreciate Christianity. And after I converted to Islam was when I first started learning about Taoism and Buddhism. And I didn't let my new faith prevent me from learning more about, other faiths ever. And so, like, when you got into the Stoic readings, were like after meditations, did you find these things easy for you, or were these things that you needed help kind of discovering the deeper meanings of? Tell me about that.
so yeah, I think initially, and I think this is how most people get into Stoicism, is you latch on to certain ideas
Hmm.
based off of the I guess, the problem you're currently in, at least for me. So a
Yeah.
lot of like anxiety, confidence, direction. And I just wanted it. And in my head, I had this idea of a stoic. There was this like strong man that was unshakable, which like it was a false narrative, but that's what led me to a place. Like when I seen these statues of Marcus Aurelius, I was like,
So,
I want
yeah,
to,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. I was like, I want to be him. Um, but then I would just latch on to small ideas and try practice them. You
Mm.
know, a lot of the say like premeditation malorum, like meditating on the evils that I had. I would start doing that and accepting them or loving fate, and I kind of do it at my own way.
Pace.
It kind of worked, and it did work. But something I noticed many years later is like understanding the whole philosophy from sort of like the ground up. It sets it sets a foundation for you that is so it's so valuable. It's priceless. Like it sets up everything. So all these little teachings that I was doing here and there, they kind of just soak into who you are as a person. Um, but then I think what Stoicism did is it opened my eyes to like a philosophical way of life. Like I felt
Mm.
like I had to live a certain way, and I was sort of like locked into this box. But Stoicism opened my eyes to Taoism and to Buddhism and to so many religions, like the religious teachings that, like I grew up Catholic, but I didn't really pay any attention or care anything about it. It was just like we had to go to church, we had to pray, we had to do all
Yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It meant nothing to me.
Right. You
Um,
didn't feel like you had a stake in it, even though
yeah,
you're technically practicing. Yeah.
but now Stoicism's opened my eyes to religion, spirituality, and I'm so much more connected to a God, to the universe, that I think people never see that about Stoicism. It opens you up.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And it's interesting because there's a book that one of my good friends, Big Tom Patterson up in Leeds, gave me. Shout out to Tom. He gave me this book. I think it's just called Marcus Aurelius. Have you read this? It's a very thin burgundy book from like the 1930s. The guy's last name is Farquharson. So apparently he wrote this book on Marcus Aurelius's life, died. After he died, his wife found it, and then she went back with some of his, I think he was from Oxford originally. And so she went back to some of his Oxford friends and was like, "Do you think this could be published?" And so it was an incomplete book. So they kind of worked with her to get it done. And it's an incredible biography. But one of the things that blew my mind about it um, was he writes extensively about how religious Marcus was, which I didn't really expect. But from a very young age, apparently, he was really into understanding the books and the rites of his faith. You know what I mean? And I thought that was interesting because I think similar to you, when you think about Stoicism, and even when you think about Marcus Aurelius specifically, you don't really think about religion per se. But here he was, like being very, it was important to him that he understood the religion of the times, and it was important to him that he knew those rights and those expressions. And I think that in so many ways I have found stoicism to improve the way that I see my own faith and the respect that I have for other faiths, because I think the stoicism immediately kind of connects to a lot of the stuff from Joseph Campbell, which there's a lot of his stuff on Spotify. There's a lot of Joseph Campbell on Spotify. So like if you go to Spotify and you look up Joseph Campbell, there's a whole podcast. And you can hear his I think like how everybody makes all that music with Alan Watts speeches?
Yeah.
Like Joseph Campbell could be just as big. Like somebody just needs to do it. I'm too lazy. I thought about it, but I got other stuff to do.
Wait
But
for it.
powerful. Yeah, it is, but there's a lot of powerful things there. Now, how long did it take you to write The Everyday Stoic, and what made you decide to write this book? Because it's great.
So I was writing a book with no real intention. I was just writing a book. And then I started putting out these videos onto Instagram, onto YouTube. And at the time when I was putting them out, they were doing really well. My teachings on Stoicism. I'm talking like 3 years ago.
Right.
And look, just pure luck. Someone at Penguin saw one of these videos and was like, he needs to write a book. Like
Oh,
we need a book. We need a book on Stoicism told from someone who's telling it very practical, very easy to understand.
yeah.
And I got approached by Penguin. They said, "Have you ever thought about writing a book?" I was like, I am writing a book." But I think I can't remember how long it took. It was a very quick process because
Yeah.
what happens when I was writing a book by myself, I was just writing here and there, just doing what I did. Penguin
Mhm.
came along and said, "We need X amount of chapters by this day, X amount of chapters by this day," and they were always checking in, saying, "We've got a call with these people. You need to explain what you've done." And they were really helpful because they did help a lot. Like the structure, if you see my book that I wrote, the structure, I remember thinking like this is brilliant, and then they said they wanted to make all these changes, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna trust you because you're Penguin. But then afterwards, I was like, thank you for.
Yeah.
It was so helpful, and like my grammar's not the best, so I need a lot of help on grammar and
I'm the
even.
same way. I'm horrible. I'm much more
Yeah.
of an idea person and an expressive person than a technical person when it comes to writing.
Yeah, but I think all that technicality is like I've started learning it as just from writing and reading
Yeah.
more. But it always got in the way for me. Like I used to have to double check I'm doing things, but when I was with Penguin, I just did it my way, and they sort of gone, okay, this, yeah, and I was very happy with it, and it got done very fast. And I kind of wrote it like we were working at Mulligan Brothers, doing all the work, and then I'd finish work on like I'd do like an hour's walk with some music playing, and I'd come up with all these ideas in my head, and I'd base it off one of the topics of the chapters, and then I'd get home and just blast everything down, and then try turn it into a chapter, and it was kind of wrote all in my spare time.
That's
Uh,
so cool, man.
yeah, but it was a very quick process.
That's beautiful, man. Well, this is a great book. And for those that don't know, I've said it a lot, but this book is the official book of the Resilient Men's Group, which meets on Sundays from 11 a.m. Pacific Standard to 1 p.m. Right. And then that's 7 to 9 UK time. It's a mix of people from the United Kingdom and from America that are studying Stoicism. And we have very profound topics. And this book is one of the main centerpieces of how we discuss these Stoic principles and practices. One of the things that I struggle with is the wrong word. One of the things that I find more unfortunate in the space of like YouTube and Spotify and things like that, where people are talking about Stoicism, is I find that too many people like to quote Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, all the usuals, and I'm not mad, right? But they do not help the listener understand the practices that made the Stoics think, speak, and act the way they thought, spoke, and acted. I really love how much you focus on Stoic practices in this book because I think that that's the hardest thing for people to understand. They like, like we said, you see these like Greek statues and da da da, and you're like, oh, I want to kind of be like that. Like, I think every um human, but especially most men feel, you know what I mean, and a spark and an urge and an identity in that kind of expression of self. But to truly be stoic is so much greater than whatever you think that statue embodies or whatever symbolism you attach. So, can you talk to me about some of the first stoic practices that you took on and found helpful?
Yeah, I just quickly add actually something that Penguin really helped, which I think was essential to the book, is the book was never too much about me originally.
Right, right.
And they was like, you need to be more honest about your personal background because that's what people connect with. And that was the hardest thing about writing a book because I've like at a young age, I never really liked my own opinion, never really thought like valued my opinion. You was actually someone that helped me. I remember when I started Everyday so years ago, you sent me that voice note and because I explained my concerns and you was like, that's why you need to do this thing. Like you've got a different voice. You need to get that out there.
Absolutely.
So you kept me going a very long time ago. I was saying that to someone this morning actually. Um, yeah. So the practices you said the practice I started with.
Yeah, which practices, like what was the first Stoic practices or one of the first one or two? Like were you doing the view from above? Were you doing like meditatio malorum, where you're doing the negative visualizations, where you doing the what's the one, the hardship one, where you basically, you know what I mean, where you let yourself have it harder. So if it's cold outside, you wear less of a jacket. If you're having a meal, you eat less food. If you know what I mean, which
Yeah.
one were some of the ones that worked for you in the beginning?
I think at the start it was I didn't even know it was practices. It was just like Marcus Aurelius said this, let's try this. Epictetus said this, let's try this. Like the way being lenient with others but strict with
Hmm.
yourself. That kind of thing. So there wasn't too much depth to it, but it was helping me. The first thing, the first practice I remember really doing was gratitude. But it didn't just come from Stokes, it came from a Tony Robbins video actually. And he's
Right.
talking about gratitude practice and priming yourself. And that's the first time where I started like loving what life had given me. You know, I'm not
Mhm.
fatty. Loving what life had given me, which that practice still to this day, the more I live life, I'm blown away. I'm like, they
Oh,
summed it all up. They summed it all up in loving your fate. It's sort of like loving your fate in a way is like surrendering to God. It's
yeah.
like you're putting your life into the hands of the universe and trusting that it's got everything sorted. And you also you're taking everything for the best. But it was gratitude. I remember practicing gratitude, and that is what stopped my spiral of negative thinking. So
That's deep.
I was always like, this could get worse. What if this happens? What if this happens? I'm rubbish. I'm this. And I just started on my ways to work. I would do this type of thing of like thinking of three things that I'm grateful for, and then
Hmm.
three things I'm excited for. Which the Stoics didn't say to do this, but it's based off of
Right.
their teaching. And it started like switching that narrative where I was like, yeah, I'm miserable, hate life, but there's some nice things. And over
It's not
time,
all bad.
yeah, it started really just shifting it completely into a point where I was like, okay, life's all right. Um, then other practices, I don't really know it. I was kind of all over the place trying everything. It's
I
only
think you are. We all are, I think, in the beginning, because it's too vast,
yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. And that's what I've been focusing on now. Like with the book, as soon as that before that book was even published, there was already ideas and um, routes I could go that the publisher wanted to write loads of other books. We had loads of things planned and lined up, and I basically wrote them all. And partway through, I was like, I'm only writing this to jump on the success, jump on that boat, um, and try ride this success of writing a book. It's been translated into 14 languages. I'm going to keep on this success. And the more I was going down that road, I was like, I'm not being stoic. I'm just trying to jump on the success hype of a book that I've
Turning into
published.
a salesman. Right.
Yeah. So I stepped it back and it was like, I need to get rid of this idea because the Stoics talk about desire. And I was like, this is something that's tripping me up. I want the success of being a successful author. I want a best-selling book. And I was like, I've been caught up here. So I needed to get over that. And I'm way over that. And the book I'm currently writing, I'm not trying to like brand it or get it out there quickly.
You're
I'm
just
making
being
sure
you.
yeah, I'm putting my heart into it and I'm making sure it's like it's basically the roadmap you need um, for stoicism, but also for life. And I'm excited for this, but there's no date for when it's going to be out.
No, that's fine, man. That's fine. That's really cool. That's real cool. Um, for me, I started with the view from above. I think that was the very first, which I needed because I was like stressed and anxious, and I started to depersonalize my pain. I started to depersonalize everything that was happening to me. I was in the middle of a horrible divorce, and I was like, I had just almost died previous to that, like about 4 or 5 months before the divorce. So I was like, why would God take me to the brink of death, have me live, and then get left? I was like, what? Why, why would that happen to me? You know what I'm
Oh,
saying? Like, like this is crazy. And so, like, when I say that I was confused, I was deeply confused. You know what I mean? And so the view from above helped me um not take it personal, and that came in different fragmented forms from reading Meditations, from reading How to Think Like a Roman Emperor by Donald Robertson, who I think is amazing. I think you have some interviews with Donald Robertson, right? He's really
Look, Don Robinson's like my
he's
go-to.
like the creme de la creme of like Stoic stuff, you know what I'm saying? And then I read How to Die. I remember when How to Die dropped, like not dropped, but came into my life. Obviously, I wasn't around when it came out. I'm not that old. Um, when when uh when How to Die came out and I had it, I had been a little suicidal, a lot suicidal. And I remember my parents would see me walking around the house with it, and they were like, "He's gonna fucking do it. He's gonna," you know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, no, it's a good book. It's helping me, right? But I do remember reading it one day and putting the book on the shelf because I'd always been like, why am I getting divorced? I try to do this kind of dad. I try to be, I don't understand, right? And I remember putting the book, literally pushing it onto the shelf and recognizing you're not the first guy to get divorced on the earth, like at all. I was like, right now on this very street, and I was standing perfectly still, like my hand was still kind of on. I was like, on this street right now, there's probably somebody getting divorced, and you have no idea of it. And then in another state, somebody else is getting divorced. And then in another country, somebody else is getting divorced. And then 20 years ago, there were other divorces in other countries and other places on this street. And so you're not unique in that way, right? And you know, how many of those men probably killed themselves like you've been thinking about? Probably some, but most didn't. And so, whatever the men that didn't use to get through, you will use to get through. And like, I just remember like £1,000,000 coming off of my soul. You know what I mean? I remember £1,000,000 coming off my soul in that minute. And then I did voluntary hardship. That was the other thing. I started eating less. I started like not putting sauces on things. You know, I remember I started eating salads like straight. And people at my job were like, I worked at a school and I would always get a salad and I would just eat it. They'd be like, "You're not gonna put any ranch on that?" I'd be like, "Nope." "You're not gonna put any Italian on that?" "Nope." And they were like, "Why?" And I was like, "Because I'm just trying to enjoy the tomato and the lettuce and the cucumber." And they were like, "I don't get it." And I had been looking at who's that one guy? Is it William B. Irvine? Right? And I had listened to one of the first things that before I read, I listened to William B. Irvine, one of his first video things on YouTube, which just has a painting up. It's not even him. And he talked about being okay with people thinking you're weird. You know what I mean? And so like he was like, you don't have to say like, oh, I'm trying to learn stoicism and that's why I'm eating the salad straight. Like I was just like, oh, I'm just, you know what I mean? And then later, when I got settled and okay with it, I would say it. But in the beginning, I was okay with people thinking Adis is just a weirdo at work who eats the salad straight. You know, those were the main ones for me.
I think that's necessary, accepting like it doesn't really matter what people label you or how people see you. Like it's good to let go of that. Like I'm currently doing like a speaking challenge, which is on Instagram. It's
I
got
saw it.
nothing.
It's really good.
It's nothing to do what I normally do. It's nowhere as good as my normal speaking. It's not based off of Stoic teachings. And I'm just saying the most random things that come to my mind. Like that's part of the challenge. Random thing, no edit, no cut. I have to post it. But
Let's
it's
go.
leading to the point of going like, well, that was a bit weird. I didn't really agree with it, but who cares? I need to get rid of that cringe, I suppose. But now you mention it, the view from above. I was actually doing that right at the very start. That was one of the
Mm,
exercises, and it's exactly like you said. I felt like the whole world was on me, and when I did that, it just like lifted, and it would be like a refresher. When it felt like the world was too heavy, I'd refresh myself with the view from above, and it would just lift it all off of me.
yeah, no, it's really cool, man. And I found that and that's when I got into the personal conviction that, I have this term for people that just go on YouTube and be like, Seneca once wrote, right? Like I call them quote boys, right? Because I feel like, the quote boys just want to sound deep, but they won't show you how to be deep. the quote boys um will leave you inspired, but they don't give you the personal toolkit to walk in your own acclimated and intentional inspiration. And that's what I found Stoicism did, for me. Those practices help me stay more settled. And as those practices help me get more settled, um, a lot of the things that I had already studied in my own faith um seem to have like a second set of cliff notes or adjacent practices, right? So they didn't compete with each other. Like if these were the wheels with a cart, one cart wasn't a bigger wheel or a smaller wheel. They were adjacent and they helped keep the balance, and they intersected with each other in ways that I thought were interesting. And again, I think that comes from a lot of my Joseph Campbell, pre-programming towards, the perennial philosophies and the things that engage. Um, so like one of the things that I've been thinking about is and this just hit me because I did a thing on it, is like when you look at the Stoic virtues, you've got wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, right? Just a super fancy word for balance. And that where the world is at in these times, while so many guys go on taking ice baths and running up mountains and, you know what I mean, doing extreme sports type of stuff, even Brazilian jiu-jitsu, whatever, like as wild as the world is right now, I don't almost see any Stoics addressing the topic of justice. You know what I mean? I feel like that is like just put into the closet so that we can like try to go viral with the ice bath and stuff like that. Like when it comes to studying Stoic justice, is there anything particular that you are there any particular books or sections of books that you go into, and then like how do you how do you take on the Stoic practice in the space of justice as you understand it in this moment or in these times?
Yes, this is super interesting. I think I might have sent you a voice note, or maybe I didn't send it, about like where I am right now and why my teachings have changed so much. And I've been in the YouTube space since like 2013, I think, doing like setting up YouTube channels, that kind of thing. And I know what performs well, especially in the field of Stoicism. And if you look at my really old videos on Instagram, on YouTube, they performed a lot better, but it didn't have that true depth to it that can really help someone. It was just
Mm,
it was what Stoicism is. It's a good brand. And I
right.
feel like about a lot of Stoicism, they say 6 Stoic tips, and they just give you general stuff, but the depth's not there. So people just watch it and go, I'm gonna do this today. And they never do. And that's what I'm always saying in my videos. And I wrote it in my book, I believe, at the end. It's like, if you read this, if you listen to it and don't act upon it, you're just wasting your time. You
Yeah,
just
exactly.
like a hobby, or you just, if you want to learn about Stoicism and it's interesting to you, that's fine. But if you actually want to improve your life, you have to try this stuff and fail at it. You have to try live like a Stoic and figure out it's pretty difficult at times. But
Agreed.
the thing about justice, the something I've been looking into a lot. So the American version of the book, my book that you had there,
Yeah, yeah.
you can see the golden circles on
Yeah,
the front.
yeah.
Quite faint, but that's the circles of concern.
Right.
Yeah, so
Because that's the very center, but there's each you can't see it because the detail isn't in this camera, but it goes out like several other rings.
yeah, and the idea is the center circle is self. So you have that concern for yourself. I almost see it as like a love, that love you have for yourself, and then the circles as they broaden out, to family and then all the
Yeah.
way to the whole of mankind. And mainly since having my daughter, who's now 2, she's a bit older than 2 now, but the way in which I love her and the what I want for her in this world, and how much like the patience I have for her and the care I have for her, I know if I'm in a position where I can offer that to her, I can offer it to myself.
Mm,
As a Stoic, I want to work on my convictions, on my courage,
Mm.
so that I can broaden it out to the people around me, family, the local community. And to a point, I want to offer that love for the whole of mankind. So it just in my everyday today, a funny story that I wrote about in my book, I believe, is there was this security guard at the shop not far from here, actually. And every day I used to go in there, and he was the meanest guy. Like he was this big dude, angry face, and he would always just like really watch me. And it was kind of like intimidating. I was like, what is this guy's problem? But I was thinking, it's only stoic to kind of offer him my kindness and my love in a way. So I was always very loving with this guy, always very caring, say, have a good day, thank you, all this kind of
Yeah.
stuff. He was the security guard. So I was like, oh, thank you. Have a good day. And he never replied, never did anything. And one day I go in and buy these three big plants in these nice plant pots. And, they're probably like £13 each, maybe. So that's like £39. And
Yeah.
I can't scan them. And I go to him, I'm like, sorry, I can't, there's no barcode. And he just grabs a pack of chewing gum, scans it, like 50p, and he's like, oh, have a good day. But I realized in that moment, he couldn't speak English. He was Polish, actually. So
Mm.
all this time I thought, like at the start, I was like, he's ignoring me, he's this, he's mean. He was just probably a bit uncomfortable. He couldn't speak my language, couldn't interact, and felt a bit uncomfortable in this environment where no one's speaking his language. And I felt in that moment like that concern, that empathy helped. It helped in that situation. And that's what I want to offer to the whole world. So like I sort of see everyone now, and the way I see my daughter is like at some point everyone was just a child that needed love. And I want to be that for someone. I made a video about this yesterday actually on it's a quote from Lord of the Rings. There's some good in this world and it's worth fighting for. And
Mm.
every day I'm just trying to gain the courage to fight for that good that exists in everyone, even bad people, the really bad people, a spark of good exists in them. They'll
Yeah.
hurt along the way and they lost that good. They still should be afforded the opportunity to be good from here on out. Now, however that looks, maybe they're in prison. They can
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
life in prison. They can still stop beating themselves up and perpetuating that bad that's been going on. And I think that's my without being overwhelmed by what's going on in the world right now, because I'm
Right.
I'm not there. I personally, this is what I was saying to you. I don't feel like I'm currently at a level where I can really stand up and help large groups.
Right.
Maybe that's
Which is
me just
fair. Everybody can, and we all have to deal with our sphere of influence. That's
yeah.
real.
So I'm trying to deal with my sphere of influence, like I say. But one of my main goals is right now is I'm really working on my conviction, my courage. So, but maybe by the time I'm mid 30s, 40, 50, 60, I can really make a difference, really help bigger groups that like one thing I really struggle with is you go on social media and you see some horrible things going on around in the world. I said this in a video recently, is like there was a picture of a mother holding her like 2-year-old boy, it just in a ditch, and there was men standing around her with guns. And I was just like, it's so awful that people they never even get a chance to live a life, just a normal life. And I want to be able to fight for those sort of people. I'm not there, but I'm striving every day in
Right.
hopes that I can get to that position. But for now, I'm just doing it, just in everyday stuff, like just being try
A
and be a
good
good
human.
person.
Yeah. No, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's not a thing to fault. You know what I mean? That is definitely not a thing to fault. And it's not like I'm walking around as a stoic Gandhi or anything. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like the justice virtue seems to be massively muted in the stoic sphere, however we, observe it. I think it is an abandoned virtue of the time, particularly because of how much war, how much famine and genocide and stuff like that. And I just don't see the people that we'll say are like a lot of the mainstream popular Stoics. I don't see them address justice. I don't know what it's about. I think it's probably because I don't even know how a lot of those people that call themselves like the red pill guys, like, you know what I mean? I think it's like a lot of red pill insanity gets unintentionally interwoven with stoicism, right? Some of those guys will be like, yeah, because you know Marcus, bro, right? And then it's like it kind of throws off. I think people become a little allergic to the idea, like, well, if that guy's stoic, I don't want anything to do with that. You know what I mean? I think that's a part of it. And I also think that at least in America and probably in part of the UK, to address issues of justice publicly probably feels and looks so akin to quote unquote wokeness, which they don't want to be associated with, that they would rather like not bother. But um, I'm not sure. I mean, we'd probably have to ask someone like Donald Robertson or one of these other guys out there. But I feel like the question in my head and heart is, well, then are you a stoic without justice as a virtue? Or are you just advertising a philosophy that you don't fully practice? Like, you know what I mean?
There's so much to unwrap, and it's so difficult. I noticed it myself. Is if I wanted to be a bigger voice within Stoicism, I had to work on presentation skills, on marketing,
True.
um, which is kind of the opposite of being Stoic. So you get caught up in this place, and like I was saying about my old videos perform so much better, but I wasn't. I was kind of living like a Stoic, but like you said, I was missing so many marks trying to be more popular. So like,
Right.
I completely stepped back and sort of been like, I don't need to keep putting out these videos. I need to live as a Stoic. And,
Hmm.
also a lot of it's education, being educated on the topics of the world, which I didn't have. So I didn't really feel like I had a say, like, who am I to come in and say, you're the bad guy, you're the good guy.
Right,
Um,
right, right.
I do believe the solution is to come from a place of virtue and being a stoic, being a good stoic. And I think with the courage, you'll always be doing the right thing when you come in. And people might not see you doing the right thing and they'll attack you, but
That's true.
that's gonna happen. But another thing is a lot of people have bias. Like you're seeing it more and more, especially. I feel like it's worse in America, but it's like you're either on this side or this side, like
Hmm.
completely. You can't like agree with some stuff from over there, agree with some stuff over there. And I did this a video about this recently. Is like we're so caught up in arguing and fighting like-minded people.
Yeah.
Um, like just arguing over who's right, when at the end of the day, we all want what's best for each other and want what's best for the people that are struggling. But we just waste all our energy on being right.
Yeah.
That's so like I do see some stoic people that practice stoicism, they're acting on justice, but it's really bias. It's towards what like sort of concerns them. And at least they're still practicing, but I think um, I don't know if it's quite right actually. It's more about like proving themselves. They want to prove themselves right. And I think a lot of people see justice as this as like their idea of justice is being the louder voice that gets heard and getting
Mm.
like you're correct. And I feel like this is what all the you see on YouTube, all these debates. It's never really people trying to get to the answer. It's people trying
Yeah,
to
they're just trying to be like, my team was always right and you guys actually suck.
yeah.
Right? Like that's
No one's 100% right.
yeah.
Even, like you've got some truths here and there. And I think with that open mind, this is what I learned from the Stoics, especially Marcus Aurelius. He was like, he's the emperor. It's like, you know about pretty much every other emperor that came before him, after him, wouldn't listen to anyone. They were
Right?
doing some crazy, crazy things that were so absurd and so immoral.
True.
But they were right. They're the emperor. Like it's like they're the emperor of the world in a way. They don't care what some random person's got to say. Marcus Aurelius would listen to his like the people that were cleaning his house, listen to their
Yeah.
tutor. He was attending classes way into old age and into sickness.
Yeah.
And I think that's something I learned from Marcus Aurelius is like everyone can teach something. You're not right about everything. You have to be open-minded to everything.
No, man, it's really cool, man. So before we go, are there any videos or anything that you're dropping soon? Do you have anything coming up on your channel? And for people that have been unfamiliar with you, right? Again, there's the Everyday Stoic right here. But And this is also on Audible, guys. So if you want to like listen to it, get it on Audible, right? It's an incredible book. It's a clean book, meaning like it's easy to understand, and the breakdowns that he has are really connected to the modern times now. So I definitely recommend this book. Um, but do you have anything coming up? And what have you been reading philosophically lately?
Uh, so, uh, I coming up, I there's nothing really set in stone. I am working on a way. I won't say too much about it. I'm working on a way where I can work closer with people
Okay.
because it's to fix the problem of like we said, when you first get into Stoicism, you're like jumping here and there. I want to
Yeah.
work for 6 weeks. I can guide a group of people to really understand it. Then it sets them up with actionable steps because
Mm,
I wasted so many years trying to get to a point where I understood and was actually
right.
practicing.
Yeah.
Before, like, I was learning things. So I'm providing that. But for now, like just on the YouTube, I'm just teaching Stoicism.
And tell
Um,
them what your page is.
it's the Everyday Stoic on YouTube. But getting to you said something. What am I reading right now?
Yeah.
I've been reading. I've been reading a lot of different books. I really like Alan Watts. I've been reading Alan Watts. But going into like Eckhart Tolle,
Yeah.
now I'm trying to think. On the side of my bed, I have I can't even remember what book I'm reading right now. It's
No, I'm like that too. It happens all
oh,
the time.
I just read The Prophet. Beautiful
Oh,
book.
Coach Gibran. That's right. That's right. That's right.
Wonderful book. Really. I mean, I read it twice. I read it and then I was like, let's read it again. That's awesome.
I said,
Um,
let's read it again. I heard
and
that.
I was reading because I'm doing some work with I read The Kindness Method, wonderful book. And I've been kind of working through it. It's more of like kind of similar to mine, like a practical book.
Mm,
But I'm getting onto Lord of the Rings now. Because I read The Lord of the Rings a very long time ago. I read The Hobbit a very long time ago, and on my shelf I've had sitting, all the um, I can't remember like the appendices, like the Silmarillion, like all of them. I own all of them, and I never got around to reading all of them. And then my friend's just been saying like, I can't talk to you no more because whenever I bring up Lord of the Rings, you're not on
oh
my level.
no.
But it's just something I've been so wrapped up in reading self-help books.
Yeah.
I got to a point I was kind of like, you guys are all saying the same thing, just in different ways. But nothing wrong with that. Different
And
things
it's good to
resonate.
just let go of that stuff sometimes, right? And just go into a random space that has nothing to do with that, so you can let whatever you have been reading settle and
Yeah,
whatever.
but I think a lot of these writers that I read in the past that wrote these epic novels or these beautiful stories, like 100 Years of Solitude, that book's stuck in my brain since I read it 10 years ago almost. But Lord of the Rings, I think Tolkien was one of the greatest philosophers. And just the teachings you read throughout the story really just powerful. So yeah, I'm reading Lord of the Rings currently. And yeah, the only way I'll read other books is if I'm working with someone and I just want to get an understanding of their teachings. Because like when I do the podcast, I'll always read their books and
Yeah,
just
and just go into their stuff a bit. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No.
I think it's respectable. Just to understand what they teach. Uh,
Yeah. No, no, no.
yeah.
That's great, man.
Um,
And then I posted about it. I guess it was this year that you came to the seminar I did out in at EKBJJ in Yorkshire, and got your first jujitsu lesson. How did you like that? What was that like?
that was awesome. That was so good. Um, what's upsetting me though? So that lesson with you was so cool. It was so cool, and also it was humbling because I've got four old brothers than me, and since I was a kid, they were all so much bigger than me. Like they're big dudes. And
Yeah.
even when I was fighting them, I could always like strength out of it. Really struggle to not get choked out. I'd still get beat, but I had a fight. I remember like the first thing I think you just showed me like here's a chokehold, and I was like. I was like, I was like, what happened? What happened there? Like it's almost like I had no say. Like I'd hate to be attacked by someone like you or someone that's in jiu-jitsu. It's like it was very very humbling. Um,
You're
the,
hilarious.
the thing that's not upsetting because it was something also
Yeah, yeah,
wonderful.
yeah.
Just when I got back, the like week I got back from that, I started rock climbing and I sort of fell in love with rock climbing. So
Yes, sir.
that overtook jiu-jitsu,
Yeah, yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah, yeah.
But it's still at the back of my mind. I want to get into it. It's just I'm trying to balance it with more what my body can take, running, working out, rock
Yeah.
climbing.
No,
Um,
that's totally cool, man. It's funny because there's a guy, Matt Robinson, who I'll introduce you to. His IG is integrity dot through dot action, integrity through action. He is amazing, bro. He was a Royal Marine, but he's a rock climber and he goes all over and he trains people in rock climbing. Dude, you guys will really like each other. And he's right in Leeds, man. He's right in Leeds.
oh,
You guys got to connect. I've had him on the show once or twice. I'll send you one or two of our talks, but I'll try to get you guys connected because I think you would really enjoy the way that he is and the philosophies that he has about like men's mental health and things like that. I think you dig it.
yeah, that's the thing. Rock climbing had the same effect that jiu-jitsu had, but I think rock climbing has it more because of I really connect with and it's odd, but at the climbing walls, they're like
Mm.
color coded, and it's just in my head, like it's like the Tetris effect. Like when I'm sat at home, I'm seeing it all. Jiu-jitsu,
Right.
jiu-jitsu had that same effect, but I think this is more
It
malleable.
does. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, 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 totally. I can absolutely see that, man. I can absolutely see that. Well, man, thank you again for making time. I know we've been talking about trying to get on for a minute in both of our lives, just because, you know what I mean? I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate the book that you wrote and sharing it with me and the wisdom that came from it. And thank you for making time to come to EKBJJ. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to everybody at EKBJJ Yorkshire. You know what I mean? I think they just won some of their guys were just winning at a tournament, you know what I mean? And every time I'm out there, I'm just I don't know, man. I'm this weird American who really has unintentionally fallen in love with almost the whole of England. Like I really enjoy my time out there, man. It's really fun, especially in the north. I don't know. Like I love London, but I love the north.
I'd say one thing about it is EKBJJ, right?
Yeah.
Um, it was strange that I can't remember everyone's names, but it sort of felt like you step into maybe like a family,
Yeah.
everyone's so nice. Like I never been to anything like this, and I was a bit like, oh, I'm gonna look like an idiot. I don't even know how to put on the
Put my gi on, right? Right.
like everyone's so like understanding. It's like everyone
Yeah.
remembers they had a first time, and everyone was so cool. Like I remember finishing up people like can't remember the guy who ran it. He was
Professor Grant Hensby. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it was awesome, and yeah, thank you for just introducing me to that, and also the support you showed me. Like it's not very public, which feel like one thing I don't like is like the whole social media is like people really support each other publicly, like they'll make a post about them, but then behind closed doors they won't be like helping them. But like
Like at all, right? Exactly.
you've always like I said when I was struggling with like keeping this going, I was like I don't know if I want to do it because who am I, this young guy that's got no education to say this, and you was like you need to do it. That's why you need to do it.
Exactly
This
why.
way picking up like academics that are like aren't practicing it. You got to do it. And
I
you
remember that day. I totally remember that day in Leeds, man.
always always supporting, and it's just it's good. It just like it keeps me on track. A lot of the times it keeps me on track.
No,
So thank
that's
you.
great, man. That's great. Well, thank you so much for being a part of it. To everybody who's checking out again, get the book, join the page, and don't forget that I've been doing Stoic guided meditations on Substack. So I just did one on courage, right? So these are the Stoic Yoga Nidra where you can just sit, put the headphones on, and the goal of these Stoic Yoga Nidra is to help you um, absorb and reflect on how to embody the virtues of Stoicism better, right? So I did one on courage. Previous one to that was on wisdom. The previous one to that was a view from above. The previous one to that was just the initial Paul Solomon method. of using a particular mantra to release negative self-talk, which is something that I always suffered from, right? And so the next one will be justice, and the one after that will be temperance, right? And so, um, I appreciate the support that I've been getting on Substack from all of you, and I'm going to try to bring amazing people like William Mulligan more to have more conversations to help us understand and embody the philosophy of Stoicism. So thank you again, and peace to the planet, y'all. Have a super blessed one.